Sign up for the weekly PressBox email newsletter with the latest Baltimore sports information presented by Toyota. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com and submit your email address today. All right, we're back, and as promised, a very different look at Kevin Byrne, Vice President of PR for the Baltimore Ravens and Communications. We talked a little bit about what the organization has been doing during the lockout and so on and so forth. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your career now. It's amazing to me that the Ravens have now been here longer than the Colts were gone. So this has been a big chunk of your professional career here in Baltimore.
It really has, you know, and I think what we found amazing, and I think still do, that when we first got here, you know, we thought there'd be an anti-team sentiment, so to speak, that there'd be such a devotion to the old Baltimore Colts that we'd really have trouble kind of becoming part of this community. But they opened their arms to us almost immediately, and we've tried not to let them down. You know, they give you a certain trust when they become your fan, and we've tried to let them know on a regular basis that we do appreciate that we do want them, that they are important to us, and right now we feel like we're part of the fabric of Baltimore and its history, and we feel pretty good about it.
Well, I think it's a very different situation now because you have a ton of young fans that now this is all they know and all they love, and it's nice that the Colt fans have their history, but there's a lot of people that the Colts don't resonate with at all.
That is true, and there is that group that's probably right now, I would say, in their mid-20s to 40, who really kind of grabbed us early because they weren't part of the old Baltimore Colts. And but in the business side of it, the people making the decision about who's going to spend the money on your team,
they were still Colt people.
And we had to get them to buy in. And a huge thing for us from the very beginning was how those former Baltimore Colts who lived in this community kind of put their arms around Art Modell and the rest of us, said, you know, we've gotten to know you a little bit, we like you, and kind of turned to the fans and say, they're okay, and that helped us, I think.
On a personal level, how many people are there that came from Cleveland with Art? Are there still about 20-plus people?
It's probably less than that now. It's probably in the 12 to 15 range, but they're all basing their whole lives here, some of whom have retired and stayed in this area because this mid-Atlantic area is really a nice place to live.
Was that a difficult decision? I'm only asking you, for you to make to leave behind Cleveland, or was it really a no-brainer in a way?
No, it was hard. My wife and I have 4 children. We had 2 who were going into the 8th grade, going into junior year of high school. Those are significant grades, significant ages for your kids at the time. I was born and raised in Cleveland, so there's some of my relatives who still haven't forgiven me for coming here. So yeah, that was hard. But once I got an opportunity to work with a company, IMG in Cleveland. They made a run at me, and then Art asked me to come over. And so once I looked at it and said, well, I would really miss not being a part of this. And also in my little way, I felt Art got the short end of it in Cleveland. And I felt I could help a little bit to bridge that with my contacts among the media across the country to kind of tell his story. And I felt an obligation to him because he's been so good. He was so good to my family and to myself.
Art Modell, Steve Bisciotti, 2 very different people. What is similar about them, and where are they different?
Well, I think the biggest similarity is that they are both good people, and that's a great start. The second similarity is they both made their money. They didn't inherit it, and so they appreciate it, and they appreciated hard work. And so I think when you work for people who appreciate hard work and dedication, that makes life a lot better at the office. If no knock to somebody who inherited money or got something, you know, because some of them
liked to have inherited something.
Right. Some of those are great people and do great things, but I think it's a little easier to appreciate the boss when you know the boss one time stood in your shoes.
How about general managers? You worked with Ernie Accorsi in Cleveland for a long time, and Mike Lombardi and Ozzie Newsome. Where are they similar? Where are they different?
Well, I think they each love the game, And I think if you stay in this business a long time, you don't stay in for the money. You stay in because it's a great game and it's fun. And so Ernie Accorsi, of course, who was the GM of the Baltimore Colts way back when. I worked with him in Cleveland when he was our executive vice president. And those who know Ernie, and many in the community do,
yep.
Great guy, good humor, good storyteller. Mike Lombardi is one of the cleverest people I know, and is just a savant when it comes to football knowledge and memory. He knows everything off the top of his head. And then, of course, I've been with Ozzie as a player back since 1981, and then as our general manager here since 1996. And he's just, Stan, you know him, he's a special person.
Yep.
And it's funny, you know, during the lockout, our offices are closed on Friday. But if you wander by our office on the closed day, I can tell you one person who's here, Ozzie Newsome. He's always studying the game, always trying to get one up on our opponents, which obviously helps us beat our other teams, and we've been pretty successful. And then Ozzie, like, you know, the same thing I said about Art Modell and Steve Bisciotti, Ozzie's just a good man.
I got one last question for you, and it pertains to something that Art Modell said. I remember at one of his first press conferences here, or maybe he was a guest on my radio program, but he said that I want the media to be honest and report our foibles, because if not, when we're doing well, people won't believe, shouldn't believe him, you know, the media. Is that how you ascribe to, you know, the way you feel about the media?
Yes, I do think that's important. And the toughest job is, at our end of the business in public relations, is to convince the head coach or the coordinator or the quarterback or the linebacker or the safety or the wide receiver or the tight end that, look, when we don't do well, we're going to get criticized. It's as simple as that. But when we do well, we'll get slaps on the back. And to convince that guy that once he's been criticized, to go back and do it again is sometimes difficult to do it. But having Art as a boss and now Steve, who realizes the same thing, makes it easier. But it's one of the tough things in the business, you know, because nobody likes to be criticized. And in our business, you're criticized publicly, and that makes it more difficult.
All right. I think that's the key to the success of the franchise, though, and having your vision is a large part of that. I thank you for your friendship and your time.
Thank you.
That's Kevin Byrne. We've enjoyed talking to him over these couple segments. Now we'll take this time out and be back with more right after this. The PGA Tour comes to Maryland this week for the U.S. Open, and if you're a golf fan, you should visit csnbaltimore.com. Staff writer John Eisenberg wrote about how Tiger Woods' absence from Congressional Country Club might affect Phil Mickelson's chances, and you can read that story and more golf coverage at csnbaltimore.com.